Let's bring in Larry Brown, who we know very well on this radio station, home of the Cowboys, 105.3 The Fan. Good morning, Larry. How are you?
I'm great this morning. How you guys doing?
Doing pretty well. Thanks for joining us. How much have you been keeping up with these Cowboys? And if you've been following, evaluate the secondary, man. I was very worried about them to start off the year. It feels like they got a possible player in Diggs, but everyone else can go. I'm talking corners and safeties. What did you see in this Cowboys secondary?
Well, I thought Diggs had his good moments, his bad moments, for a young guy, but there's some promise there. I also thought that Donovan Wilson played well at safety, when he got the opportunity. Obviously, they didn't give it to him early on, but late, so I thought he's a guy I'd keep around and take a look at because he'd come in, make plays, and hit people. And so I thought he did a very good job tackling. So Diggs got some promise. I think Witt and Wilson got some promise. Some other guys have been there, but, they've been guys. I'm not going to say they've been great. Jordan Lewis, some of the other guys, Anthony Brown, you kind of know what you got. I don't think they're bad players, but, are they going to be guys that, take you over the edge? I'm not sure about that.
Larry, what is the general time it takes for a corner to really figure out the NFL? You come into college, you could be great, you could be, you could like a super blue chip guy or not, but how long does it take usually to figure out the league?
I think, first of all, they're making young guys play early. It is what it is now. There's no more development and get you in there. You come out of college now, they're throwing you in there, and you got to go. But I think in general, after 2 years, you got a sense of what you have in a guy. That's where you really know where this guy is going to be a starter. Is he going to be a solid player for us? But you're able to get just some experience. But I think by year 2, you should be able to see, what you have in a guy.
Larry, what is the most asked question you get about the Super Bowl MVP? What is the number one most common question?
Wow. Let me see. MVP. How did it feel? How did it feel winning MVP for a defensive back? Because it's just unheard of, and that's probably the most asked question for me.
If you can disclose it publicly, where are your rings right now?
My rings are in the safe deposit box. My wife she puts them up for me because I've lost them. You'd be surprised. I've lost a ring a couple of times, and I've gotten lucky to even get them back. I was in a cab in Chicago, dropped it in there, believe it or not, got it back. And after that, she just said, "Hey, we're gonna light these things up. Keep them away from me."
Was it not on your finger? How did you drop it?
I don't know. I may have put it in my pocket. Believe it or not, I don't know. I took it off, put it in my pocket. I've been doing events all day, and then somehow it fell in a cab. And I don't know, by the grace of God, we were somehow able to track this cab company down, and the driver had it, and they brought it to us. So I got lucky. After that, there's no more taking the ring off my finger. It goes from my finger to the safe deposit box.
So they still fit. Because sometimes, my knuckles aren't the same as they were when I was 25. They still fit. No problems there.
They'll fit on one of the fingers. So, like you said, my knuckle has gotten bigger, so you can switch fingers. Because you put it on a smaller finger if you have to.
Larry Brown, the Super Bowl MVP, 3-time champ, here on the Buyers Barricades Hotline 105.3 The Fan. How are you looking at this big game? Do you feel confident in a pick? Who are you going with on Super Bowl Sunday?
Well, it's a great question. I had some friends of mine, and we had this big debate about who's going what, to the championship game. And I said, look, I'm going with the future. I'm going with the present and the future. Tom Brady was the present, and Mahomes is the future. So I got that right on those two games. I think this game, I got to go with the future. As much as I love Tom Brady, 10 Super Bowls, incredible, but the future is Patrick Mahomes and Kansas City, so I'm going with the future.
Is Mahomes a guy who you think has a chance to catch Brady and become the best of all time, or do you think just the legacy and the rings of Tom will never be passed?
I don't think the rings of Tom will ever be passed. I think before it's all said and done, I think that Patrick Mahomes will be the all-time leading passer in touchdowns and yards in the history of the game. I do believe that. But as it relates to getting the 10 Super Bowls, I just don't think we're going to see that. A big part of it is, can Andy Reid be around 9-10 more years? I'm not sure. Can you keep an organization? Can you keep a quarterback and a team in place that long? Can you get a little lucky and have a division to be down? When you look at the New England division, the Jets and Buffalo, they were down in Miami for so long, and New England was able to capitalize on that. I'm not sure there'll never be another division and situation where all the stars align for a team to literally dominate that. And you look at that division, people don't realize this. Tom Brady went to, 13 championship games in that division. The ones that they didn't, you got to throw Peyton Manning in there. So had Peyton not been there, hell, they may have went to all 20 or 19 of those things there. So I just don't think there'll be another division where someone will dominate it and the division will be down that long. So I don't think no one will ever catch 10 Super Bowls. We're watching history.
Larry, if he doesn't catch 10, but Mahomes wins this Super Bowl straight up, I know quarterbacks don't play quarterbacks, but you get what I'm saying. Does he have to get to 10 or 6 to be called the greatest? Or would the head-up win help?
It's the greatest is redefined all the time. Is it Super Bowl wins? Is it yards? I mean, if you look at it, people forget that Drew Brees is the NFL's all-time leading passer in the history of the game. So, no one's even talked to him about, being the greatest because it's down to Super Bowls. And if it's based on Super Bowls, what most people do, then Tom Brady will go down as the greatest to ever do it.
Larry, who was a guy that you faced that maybe – we're talking about Matthew Stafford. I'm a bigger fan of Stafford than RJ and a lot of other people. I think he's definitely an upgrade over Jared Goff with that blockbuster trade that went down. Is there another guy that maybe people didn't talk about a lot that you faced and you're like, this guy, he's scary. He's not being talked about. Or even if he was talked about, just someone else, you're like, that's a bad man out there.
Are you talking about as related from the quarterback position?
Yeah, that you faced as a QB.
I mean, to be honest with you, all the guys I faced are in the Hall of Fame. Elway, Moon, Marino, Favre, Young. I mean, Kelly. So it's hard to say that when you're facing Hall of Famers every week, it's I don't think you can really, minimize that. But I think there's a lot of great players that people don't talk about. Randall Cunningham, Boomer Esiason, Phil Simms. They were solid quarterbacks. But, maybe because they're not in the Hall of Fame, people, don't give them much credit. But they were great quarterbacks in their own right.
He is the self-proclaimed owner of Jerry Rice. That is true, right? You say you own Jerry.
That was a young kid back then. It was just caught up in the moment.
Roll with it. Just go with it. You don't have to say you're young now. Larry Brown joined us here at 105.
On that note, do you have a great – Michael Irvin joins us weekly. We love him. What's your best Michael Irvin story?
Oh, wow. So
that you can tell.
Well, I'll tell you how Michael helped me. I dropped about 20 interceptions my rookie year because the ball was bigger and they throw that ball hard. Coming out of college, they don't throw the ball quite as hard. So Emmitt Smith nicknamed me my rookie year Edward Scissorhands. so Michael Irvin came to me one day and said, look, you're not a receiver. You don't have to try to catch it like we do. There's a couple ways you can catch it, this way and that way. Showed me a few different techniques, and my interceptions immediately went up. So I have to credit Michael Irvin with helping me understand that there's different ways to catch that football, and I don't have to try to catch it like them.
It's interesting you say Michael, and I got a Rams question I want to get to, but Nick Saban's recruiting pitch to a lot of his players is, Marlon Humphrey went up against Amari Cooper every day, made him better. Did you find going up against Michael in practice every day made you, I don't want to say better, but you went up against probably a worse receiver on Sunday?
Well, it definitely made you better. There's no question about it. Not just because he was Michael Irvin, it's the way he practiced, his commitment to getting better as a player, and Michael enjoyed abusing people and talking noise once he did it. So you had a choice. Either you're going to challenge him or get talked about. So obviously none of us, Darren Woodson, myself, Kenny Gant, Kevin Smith, we weren't trying to get talked about. So, you had to compete. And I appreciate that, Michael. It made you better whether you wanted to or not. So by default. So absolutely. It was just great going against Michael Irvin. And Michael played hard every play. I mean, like every play you thought it was the last one. So, and you had to work. So you had to be in condition as well because he worked his butt off. And it definitely made you better.
Larry, where do you think the Rams are in the NFC right now after the Stafford deal?
So let me say this. I never get caught up in one person because a team can change with several people. They said, oh, Brick Stafford, we're going to be great. Well, that's if you keep some of the good pieces in line. Are you able to keep some of your good players and re-sign them other than him? So I'd have to wait to see what the Rams look like. If you would have told me 2 years ago that Gurley would be gone and a lot of the good players, that some of the offensive line gone and some of the defensive players they had pretty good is gone, you wouldn't know. Then they'd get Jalen Ramsey, and so a lot can change. So I think I'd probably reserve my opinion to the offseason to see what else they do other than Stafford. Can they keep the other good guys on the team with them? And if they do that, I think they got their contender.
Larry, thank you so much for joining us. Great to hear you on the station again. Stay safe and enjoy the game on Sunday.